Hello everyone, welcome to 6.11, use properties of addition. The essential question is, how can properties help you add fractions with unlike denominators? So you don't have to write this down, but these are the two properties we're going to be using, and they're only for adding and multiplying. Commutative properties when you change the order of fractions. So like if I have 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/2, well, I can rearrange that to have 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/3, because these two have the same denominators, and that's what I'd want to arrange it to. Associative property is with parentheses. You can change the parentheses. So let's say I have these two in parentheses. Well, I can change it to these two in parentheses. Okay, so you don't need to write that down, but you do need to write down these steps. Okay, the first step is to read carefully. What do you need to find? What information do you need to use? Step 2 is, are there any properties that you can use to make it easier? Okay, is there a commutative property or associative property that you can use? Step 3 is to find a common denominator. When you are able to add the ones with a common denominator, that's great, but then there might be a fraction that doesn't have the same denominator, and that's what you need to find, a common denominator. And whenever you multiply the bottom by, the denominator by, you need to multiply the top or numerator by. That's what N and D stand for right here. And step 4 is to add the fractions. So here's the first example. You can pause it if you need to. So hopefully you paused it. It's a lengthy one, but it says Jane, on her first day, Jane and her family are driving to Big Lagoon State. On their first day, they travel 1/3 of the total distance. On the second day, they travel another third and 1/6. By the end of the second day, how much have they traveled in all, or total? So we need to add these three together. So I'm going to use my associative property. Okay, so you have 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/6. All right, and I'm going to have these two go together. I know 1 plus 1 is 2. Denominator stays the same. That gets me 2/3 plus 1/6. And now I need to find a common denominator. I know 2 and 3 can be multiplied by 2 to make the denominator 6. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. So now I have 4/6 plus 1/6, which equals 5/6. So the total distance they traveled is 5/6. Let me see if I can make that a little bit neater. There you go, 5/6. Okay. You could have also just done commutative property and not had the parentheses at all. But I like to use associative here because I like to make sure that I get this answer first. Okay? If you have questions about that, go ahead and write those questions down. But we're going to do our last example, which is example number 2. Okay, it says 2 5/8 plus 1 2/3 plus 1 1/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put 2 5/8 together with 1 1/8 because they have the same denominator. And then afterwards, I'll add 1 2/3 to it. So knowing that, I know 2 plus 1 is 3. 5 plus 1 is 6. Denominator stays the same. So I have 3 6/8 plus 1 2/3. And now I need to find a common denominator. And I think the only common denominator, or at least the least common denominator between 8 and 3 is 24. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 6/8. I'm going to multiply those by 3. That's going to get me 18/24. And then I'm going to take 2/3. I'm going to multiply both of those by 8. And that's going to get me 16/24. So my new problem is, and I'm going to do this in yellow, 3 and 18/24 plus 1 and 16/24. And now we add. We know my answer is going to have a denominator of 24. 3 plus 1 is 4. 18 plus 16. Well, we're going to have to add that. I know 6 plus 8 is going to be 14. Carry the 1. 34. So I have 4 and 34/24. Now that's an improper fraction because the 34 is bigger than the 24. So what we need to do is we need to take out 24. Okay? And we're going to add that to the 4. So I know that the 4 is going to change to a 5. Okay, I'm going to add it. And then if I take out 34 minus 24, I have 10 left over. So it's going to be 5 and 10/24. And that's going to be my final answer. Don't worry about simplest form for this one. That's going to be my final answer, 5 and 10/24. Okay, I had to take out that 24, that whole fraction, and add it to the 4. That's why it became a 5. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Please make sure you write both examples and the steps. You don't have to write the language of the discipline, vocab, okay, but make sure you have everything else. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.